Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I wanted to talk about some of my favorite movies of 2023 so far. We're a bit more than halfway through the year, and I just wanted to share some of these lesser known films with you guys, especially to broaden your horizon on the year as a whole so far. Some hidden gems, if you will. And the reason I want to talk about these lesser known films is because I know you know that you gotta see Across the Spider-Verse if you haven't yet. Definitely talking to one of you in particular. At this point, I have seen 40 of this year's releases, so I will be missing some great hidden gems, I'm sure. If you know of any good recommendations that aren't big blockbusters, be sure to share them with me down in the comments below. But alright, without further ado, let's get into some of my favorite films of 2023 so far. The first movie I want to talk about is hopefully still in theaters, even if it's like one or two showings, and that is Past Lives. I freaking love this movie. This is the only movie of the year so far that I really considered giving a 5-star to. And for those that know me and make fun of me for it, I barely give out 5 stars. It's just something I wish I had made, and for this being a directorial debut, it's all the more impressive for it. Deep diving into what ifs and what other lives might have held for us, especially those in the past, and our loves and just the complicated web of life. Oh my god, this movie is just so impactful to me, and it hit me like a stack of bricks that I'm at a loss for words for it. I love this movie. And hopefully come Oscar time this isn't too small, because like last year the A24 movie I thought was too small ended up winning Best Picture. Shout out to Everything Everywhere All at Once. You get a bunch of these stellar performances, so hopefully Greta Lee does get an Oscar nomination for lead actress, but this movie also needs a Best Picture, a Best Director, and a Best Screenwriting nod. I mean, it just so beautifully shines a light on some very complicated feelings, and more people definitely need to see this. If you listen to any of my recommendations in this video, please let it be this one. The next movie I wanted to shine some light on is hopefully still in theaters by the time you watch this, and that is Asteroid City. Wes Anderson's latest movie might be one of his best. I mean, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it ever since I saw it about a month ago now. Not only is it this look at artists looking at their artistry and creativity and the art they create, but it's also a tale about grief and loss and how we deal with it, and the other people that we meet in our lives even for a moment and get stuck in these situations with. There's so many layers to this movie. It's honestly so impressive. And besides the absolute deep and layered writing, on a technical level, this is amazing. I mean, to balance some absolutely sharp comedy and commentary with some beautiful visuals, it's Wes Anderson at the peak of his powers. And of course, the art department is one of the many stars in this film. It's a Wes Anderson movie after all. But there is another level reached here that you definitely see him meeting with The French Dispatch and now this. But now you definitely get that blend of this heightened comedy world that he's been starting to build, as well as the introspectiveness from his earlier works. But in the end, all I know is I'm ready to be disappointed by the Oscars once again if this is ignored like French Dispatch was. And it can't be. The cinematography, the art direction, and so much more deserves so much love come award season. I mean, every department just knocks it out, so please watch this on the biggest screen that you can. My third recommendation hasn't quite hit digital release yet, and it's also had a very interesting theatrical schedule, and that is Carmen. Starring Melissa Barrera and Paul Mescal, this directorial debut is one of the most unique movies of the year. I just stumbled upon watching this one day on a whim, and I'm so glad I did, because it was literally in theaters for like a week. The director Benjamin Millepied has such a unique eye, especially an upcoming one, and I'm glad I got to see it form on the big screen. And now this movie does have its fair share of issues, but most of them are forgivable, as the atmosphere of this movie is just so understated, as in more people need to see this and be talking about it. And I know it's not for everyone, but there is just a nightmarish quality to this film that I know people who like Climax will really enjoy this one. If you really want to see what film can do, go and check this one out. It tries to do something different by building character and plot through dancing, and it's still not quite a musical either. I don't know, it's just an interesting blend of genres in this movie, and even though it's not the strongest film ever, it's still a really great start for a new director. Another hidden gem of mine can be streamed on Peacock right now, and that is 1001. A Sundance darling about a mother trying to be with her son and have her in her life despite her not so clean past. This is an emotional movie. In the center of Avi Rockwell's directorial debut, you get a wonderful performance from Teyana Taylor. She brings so much life and tragedy to the character that is Inez, and it's one of the year's best performances. I know come award season, this is going to be at the top of snubbed performances of the year, unless miraculously she gets enough publicity. It's streaming right now, and I unfortunately don't see anyone talking about this movie anymore. And even at the height of its popularity, there was still barely anyone championing it. So please check it out if you haven't yet. It's on Peacock. It's the most accessible out of any of these really right now. That is if you're able to watch this gritty look into a relationship that is rocky. And even though this is a bit rocky as it is a directorial debut, it's still so worth watching because there's something that you can take from it. Plus it's just gorgeous and there's so many hues of blue in this. It was nice to watch. My fifth recommendation of the year may not be Oscar material, but it's still definitely worth watching, and that is Joyride. This is the biggest surprise of the year for me so far, and there's been quite a few disappointments, sadly. But this is the return of a pure theatrical comedy. I haven't had this much fun with a comedy in theaters since 2018 with Game Night. This follows a group of Chinese American friends who go over to China to help out the lead Audrey with a business transaction. Yes, it is very raunchy, but it also has a lot of jokes dealing with friends, family, and ethnicity as well. It does a very solid job of balancing comedic and dramatic moments, especially when dealing with one's identity. It's just sad though, because this movie has not been doing well in the theaters, and of these, this is the one that I'm for sure is still in theaters. It didn't open well in theaters, sadly, with only a 6.5 million opening weekend, but hopefully it's still in a good amount of theaters for you guys to watch right now. I don't know, I really hope it has legs, but I do see a future where it's most likely that this becomes a cult classic and people find it once it goes onto like Netflix or something. I mean, it's just a fun time. You can't really ask more for that. It's just a good little 90-minute movie that you can watch with a bunch of your friends and just have a good night with. Okay, now for my final recommendation of the year so far, you can rent this on digital or you can buy it right now as a physical copy, and that is Mafia Mama. Now, this is a film I saw as one of the Regal mystery movies, and before you click away, I think I was levitating when watching this. It's one of those movies that's so bad, it's not only good, but it's fantastic. This is one of those films that needs to be studied about almost every single choice that had been made. It just didn't feel real. The comedy doesn't come from its comedy and its writing, but more so other writing and uses of filmmaking techniques. And when you have a great talent like Toni Collette in the center of this, it makes it all the more surreal. And no matter what you think of it quality-wise, there's no way you can't tell me that this movie isn't memorable. From the weird cinematography to the fact that everyone seems like they want to get with Toni Collette, including family members. This movie's just a collection of very weird and interesting choices, and it's a studio-made comedy. And I mean, even just the premise of having to become a mob boss because it was basically in your grandfather's will. This movie broke me in like the best way possible. I've had an out-of-body experience. It might be one of the most bizarre movies, especially wide release as it was, for the whole decade. This is one of those movies that will become a cult classic, and I need to show to as many people as possible. Especially because every time I explain it to someone, they don't believe me that that is what happened on the screen. I don't know, there's just something in this movie that just captures your attention so greatly. But alright, those are some of my favorite movies of 2023 so far. There of course are many more recommendations, but I wanted to touch on the hidden gems, of course. There are so many movies that have already come out this year, so please let me know your favorites down in the comments below. Shoot, even tell me some movies that I should stay away from. I know one of my not recommendations would be Paint. Yeah, the Owen Wilson starring spoof on Bob Ross, but not really comedy. I don't know, it was just so not funny, and like life was draining from me when I was watching it. And Sebastian, the editor of our channel, please put your favorite and least favorite movie on screen now. But alright, be sure to check us out on our socials. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll write you later.